Hey there, today I'm going to show you how to add feedback boards, feature voting, roadmap, and changelog widgets to your Shopify app directly embedded inside Shopify portal. So by the end of this short demo, you would have something like this, where your users have direct access to a feedback board where they can post feature requests, bugs, or any type of feedback that they want or need from your app. And they can also vote on feedback from other users, so you'll know what to build and prioritize next. Your users also don't have to log in if they're logged in through the Shopify portal. In addition to feedback boards, you'll also have a roadmap widget where users can see what you're currently working on, and this will help build trust and transparency between you and your users. You'll also have access to a changelog widget where your users can see what you've worked on in the past, and this closes the loop between your users posting feedback, you working on that feedback, and you releasing the feature that they're looking for. And this is all powered through features.vote. So users post feedback, you prioritize based on votes or total voter spend, where you can see which features paying users are looking for. And then once you're working on that, you can move that to in progress, which notifies the users via email that you're working on that feedback. This is all handled through the features.vote platform. And once you've done the feature request, you can move this to done. That'll notify the users via email again. And additionally, you can also create a release and add the details of what you released in a markdown. And then you can also send a changelog email to them in this beautiful format, all handled through this platform. Easy. So this 5-minute setup will not only help you know what to build and prioritize, but it will also drastically help with user satisfaction and communication. And it'll also set you apart from other Shopify apps because you're showing users that you're listening to them and you're building what they need. All right, let's get started. So first thing you would need obviously is a Shopify app, and you'd also need a features.vote account, which you can sign up on features.vote. Once you have that, you could also visit this GitHub repo where I put all the source code in for this demo, and you can reference it to make your life easier. I'll link it down below. And then last thing you would need is a code editor. If you're less technical, then feel free to shoot me an email. I'd be happy to help you do this. It's set and forget kind of thing, so it should be pretty straightforward. So let me bring my code editor to the screen here. So this is a Shopify app built on React and Next.js, which should be very similar to how most Shopify apps are built these days. And you can run this using npm run Shopify app dev. And this should show up live here. Okay, refresh that. Cool. So we're now seeing our awesome Shopify app, and we'll go ahead to the user info page, and this is showing what we have access to via the Shopify API and the Shopify portal. So you can have access to the user ID, the user's email and name, and their shop URL. And then this is what we essentially feed to the widgets. Okay, so on the code base, you can see this on the app.userinfo component or page. And then the logic is mostly here on the session.onlineaccessinfo. So important to note here that you would have to turn this use online tokens to true on the Shopify.server file. Okay. And then once you've turned that to true, you can have access to the current logged in customer. Okay. And then once we have that, we're just logging the user details. Easy. So after that, we have this request feedback page where we load our feedback board. So just going through this. Oh, yeah. So first you would need to go to the share and embed page on features.vote. You could change the preferred language here to like React or whatever tech that you're using. So if you're not using React, then you can just go the JavaScript route and then copy this and then paste it on your code base. They also have a neat thing here where you can copy all the docs and then feed it to AI so that the AI do it for you. We can all do that, but since we already have a reference code base for this, we're just going to use it, and it's this file, app.requestFeedback. So I'm going to walk you through how this page works. So first, we have this loader function, which basically gets the user session data if it's available. So this is just a fallback, but the main thing we're using is the online tokens that's available to us through the Shopify API. So once this is enabled on the Shopify server TS, once you set this as true, you'll have access to this, and then you can get the user's email, first name, last name, their shop URL, and their ID. So this is what we're mainly going to be referencing here. And then once we have that, we have this use effect hook, which loads up when the session is available. So you can see that here. When the display user is available, we load this. So this block is just to make the width of the widget full screen on the page here. So let's load that up. So it enables it to load and occupy the whole screen. And then it appends that style to the document, easy. And then checks if our function is available. So this is the function that loads the widget, load feedback board. Okay. And this is the script that we're gonna load up. So this is what we have to add in order to load up the JavaScript file to make this function available. Okay, and then we can set the attributes of the script here, and all of the options are outlined here. So first thing you would need is the slug, which is available when you click on this one, and you can change it here. So this is the slug, which is like a unique identifier for your features.vote project. Okay, so that's what you're gonna supply first here, and then you're gonna specify the color mode. It's gonna be default to light mode anyway, so you can leave this out. And then you can add the user ID, which you've fetched using the user session token, user online token from Shopify, and then display user.email and their full name. Okay, and then there are some other options here, like their avatar, the user spend, so you can call your internal API and then pass on if they're a paying user or not, and then that will help you prioritize the feature or not based on how many paying users are voting for that feedback, right? And then, yep. And then once you've set that, once the script loads, we then call the function that displays this feedback board on the UI. And once the user exits the page, this function here gets executed, which just removes the script from the DOM and removes the styles from the DOM. And yeah, this is mostly what you need here, the use effect statement here. And you have to have this div here, which is just the target container where our widget will be loaded in. Yeah, and that's mostly it. It's pretty straightforward. Once you've configured that, you will see this neat feedback board here. The user is logged in already without doing anything. They can vote, they can post feedback, and they can comment and subscribe to updates easily. So that's mostly it for the setup part. There are a lot more settings that you can configure on the features.vote portal. One thing I would recommend is you go to the security and privacy section here and then enable this toggle, which basically prevents anonymous users from posting and voting on your board to ensure that only your customers can interact with the board. Okay. If you want a quick and easy integration, and if you're using React and Next.js for your Shopify app, you can just go into the code base and then go into app and routes. You can just copy these files, change the slug, which you can search for here. So change this to your project slug, and then it should be good to go. All you need to do after that is just add the route here on the app.tsx, add a new route pointing to your feedback board, your roadmap, or your changelog, and then also ensure that on the shopify.server file, you have this turned to true. Okay? And that's it. Quick, easy, super useful tool. I highly recommend that you have this set up for your Shopify app. And if you run into any issues, you can send an email to their support email, and they typically respond within 12 hours. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.